So this was 2022. Ex-Democratic congressman sentenced to prison in years-long Pennsylvania election fraud scheme. But this seems to be an ongoing pattern with the politicians. Now, I think there's some that they dirty up to try to get out. But I was going back to like the 1990s, like to 2020. I'll show some of a list. It's way too long. I mean, going down from the federal to the local in each state. And there seems to be an ongoing pattern. So I think a lot of what's happened over the years is, somebody gets elected, they go to Washington or even at the local level, and it's your own little posse there, and they say, hey, we all do it. We all take a little bit. We all just take a little bit from the taxpayers. Yeah, it's no big deal. We all do it. And then they justify it all to them. It becomes the culture, right? I mean, that's really what it is. And so that's how people will easily get pulled into it. Oh yeah, well, everybody does it. And so because it's part of the culture, it seems normal to many people, except it's corruption, and there's a ton of it. This is regarding the same article. Expelled former Democratic Congressman Michael Ozzie Myers has been sentenced to 30 months in prison for federal election fraud dating back to 2014. Myers, 79, pleaded guilty in June to conspiracy to deprive voters of civil rights, bribery, obstruction of justice, falsification of voting records, and conspiring to illegally vote in a federal election as part of scams to stuff ballot boxes for certain Democratic candidates in Pennsylvania's elections between 2014 and 2018. But this isn't, I think we in the public just think, oh, these are just here and there. No, it's it's a pattern of a disease. And that disease is called corruption. And we as a society have become too used to, we just accept corruption. And so when we accept it, then it spreads like an infection. So list of 2000, this would be 2010, to the year of 2010 to the 2020. American state and local politicians convicted of crime. This list includes American politicians at the state and local levels who have been convicted of felony crimes committed while in office by a decade. And this list encompasses the 2010s. And you can go down, they have it broken down each by state. The biggest states where you see the most, even in 2010s, 1990s, 80, whatever, because they go all the way back to the 1800s, is Illinois and New York. Okay, so those are the Illinois, just a long list. So here's just a few. New York and Illinois are the biggest, so I didn't put all of them up. As you can see, now this would go from 2010 to 2020, it would end. So you can see all the convictions. 2015, making false statements, convicted on federal corruption charges, trying to bribe a Republican official. That would be this one, this third one. Malcolm Smith was found guilty trying to bribe a Republican official to let him onto the Republican ballot in 2013. Oh, yeah, that's how rhinos get in. And rhinos are Democrats that run on Republican tickets. Anyway, so the next one, Gabriella Rose, that one's interesting. Sentenced to a year in jail for entering into a sham marriage to gain U.S. citizenship. Not even a U.S. citizen. No wonder we're in the place we're in. And then the last one, convicted of bribery. And this is New York for that same time period, but it's for just the local level. So like I said, Illinois and New York are filled with corruption, especially at the local level. So again, bribery, fraud, you can see all of it there. Taking bribes, orchestrating payoffs, money laundering, Ponzi schemes. I'm not going to read each one of them. There's too many. I'm not even showing you the whole list. This would be Illinois. From 2010 to 2020, you can see it's same thing. It's all the same thing. This is it's a ton of Ponzi schemes, fraud for sure, bribery, pay to play, tax evasion, embezzlement, a lot of perjury, which we see, a ton of people that have been at the hearings in Washington and they've already perjured themselves. But that's the top of the chain, so who's going to do anything about that? Here's Florida. Yep. Same stuff. Fraud, tax evasion, fraud, perjury. Yep. Republicans and Democrats. So, and that's at the federal level, and there's not any state that doesn't have it. So if you think, no, we're a red state, so that wouldn't happen here, it doesn't matter. The R's and the D's don't matter. They really don't. They really don't. Because, they bribe somebody. A Democrat will bribe a Republican so that they can run on a ticket at their local level, and they'll run as a Republican when really they'll vote straight down the middle as basically a Democrat. And if they're really, really, careful about it, they won't get caught for many years, sort of like John McCain, Mitt Romney. Yeah, because we're not paying attention. This was Illinois again, starting in the 2010s. This would be at the federal level, convicted of distributing child pornography, accepting bribes, convicted of mail fraud. Speaking of that, somebody keeps opening. It's been happening for several months now. Anytime I get something personal in the mail, somebody's ripping it. Like they're looking in it. I don't know if that's happened. I've seen some people say that's happened to them. That's total bullshit. But that's the world we live in anyway. Yep, so all Illinois federal level, repeated drug abuse and DUI. People in Illinois know how corrupt it is. We do. I mean, people with level-headed, we do. But we're all stupid and we still go vote. When it's already, we knew long before 2020 how they fix it, how they fix it. They do. They've done it in Chicago forever. But we all still just go vote hoping that somehow, but many times it doesn't matter who's running because both parties are, mob connected. So this is California. Yeah, this is going from 2010 to 2020. Every state you have them. So I thought this is interesting. This mayor of San Diego, given 3 months of house arrest, 3 years probation, and partial loss of his mayoral pension after pleading guilty to state charges of false imprisonment and battery. And then also up there, see the sheriff? Yep, convicted of false imprisonment. I'm sure it's probably tied to the same thing. And then also at the top, a mayor of Gardenia, convicted of civil rights abuse. Texas, yep. This would be at the federal level, yep. Travel expenses using taxpayers' money, all the same stuff, fraud, money laundering. So here's some from Illinois, federal level. This would be starting in the 2020s, though. So the new ones just starting, they've been convicted. So that's a lot, because we're still in the 2020s. The 2020 would go till, 2030. So this is at the federal level, so far. And this is so far for the starting 2020. This would be going till 2030 at the local level. So that may not seem like enough, or may not. Well, you don't want it to even be any, but this will be far worse. Yeah, because we're still in the era that's being tallied. Way worse. But you could see already convicted of fraud, filing a false report. It's all the same pattern. The same pattern. So either people go in maybe with good intentions, but they're easily manipulated. I think, especially places like Illinois, because of Chicago, you're really just, but it's not just here, because every state, it has all this going on. It's just, yes, it's worse in Illinois. It's worse in New York. They tend to have more of them in, and then that infection spreads. So it's a big deal. And then this was Michigan. But they all have this. So again, you see, now they under the influence of alcohol. I mean, obviously, it looks irresponsible, but doesn't necessarily mean what all of the rest of it. More often than not, it's all this tampering with elections, fraud, and embezzlement. They're all criminals.